you short on time but looking for a horror movie to watch? Here are some of the best horror movies, all under 90 minutes, that you can watch this weekend. First up, we have The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which comes in at 86 minutes. This is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. This story centers around a father and son coroner team who receive a mysterious unidentified corpse with no apparent cause of death. As they attempt to examine the beautiful young Jane Doe, they discover increasingly bizarre clues that hold the key to her terrifying secrets. I love this one for its simplicity. I love the environment, the mortuary setting. I love the relationship between the father and son. You can tell there's a lot of history between them and there's something under the surface happening between them. And I love the center mystery surrounding this Jane Doe. Then we have Host from 2020. This clocks in at 57 minutes. This came out right at the start of the pandemic. It was perfect timing when we were all on Zoom meetings for everything, and this story is centered around a group of friends who hold a seance over Zoom, and it goes horribly wrong, as you would imagine. This movie scared the crap out of me. I think it had some really great effective scares. It was perfectly timed. It came out at the right time when we all needed it. I think it's one that actually plays really well if you watch on your computer. It almost feels like you're watching a real Zoom meeting. Some of the moments in this really creeped me out, and I think it's the perfect watch. It is the quickest watch if you are really short on time. Then we have Wrong Turn from 2003, which clocks in at 84 minutes. This movie centers on a group of friends who are traveling on a road trip, and their car breaks down in the middle of the woods in West Virginia, and they become target to a group of mutant freaks. Cannibalistic mountain men, which you gotta love. You gotta love. This was 2003. This movie was everything to me at the time. I loved it. I used to watch it repeatedly because I loved Desmond Harrington, who is the male lead in this. I love the cast. I love the environment and the atmosphere. It was just so scary. I just love this movie, and I feel like a lot of people have forgotten it, but I have not forgotten it, okay? I still think about it. Then we have the iconic found footage horror movie, The Blair Witch Project. This clocks in at 81 minutes. It's about a group of student filmmakers in Maryland who go into the woods searching for this infamous witch, this legend of this witch, and they find her. And it's terrifying. And you slowly see this group, they get lost, things unravel, they're losing their minds, and they're also being stalked by something in the woods. I think that the simplicity of this works so well. At the time that it came out, it was ahead of its time. It was groundbreaking, and I feel like so many movies, so many found footage horror movies owe a lot to the Blair Witch Project. I know some people argue that it's not scary, but I disagree. I think there's many different scare factors to this. There's the real life horror of being lost in the woods, running out of food, having no real shelter, and then there's the really creepy factor of this witch that likes to kill people. And the ending of this film is one of the scariest, most unsettling endings I've ever seen. Then we have Pyewacket, which comes in at 88 minutes. This one I feel like is an overlooked hidden gem. It's about a young girl who's struggling with her relationship with her mother. She's very angsty and she's going through a lot. She's a teenager. Her mother uproots her life and moves her away from her friends, and she doesn't take it well. So she goes into the woods and she summons this witch to come and kill her mother. And when you're a teenager, you're dumb and you do stuff without thinking, and that's kind of what she does. This one has some really creepy visuals. It's really unsettling. There's so much dread in this because you know that this girl did something wrong and she can't really admit it to anybody, especially not her mother. It's a slow build, and then it's just absolutely terrifying. Then we have the creature feature Splinter, which is 82 minutes. This centers on a group of people who get stuck in a gas station, and while there they encounter this parasite that is like a splinter, and when it gets you, you get all splintery. Am I describing this very well? Because that didn't sound good. I love that this one is basically a road horror movie, and it's a one location movie. After they get off the road, they're stuck in this gas station. It's a group of people that don't know each other. They're put into this horrifying situation and they have to work together. There's a lot going on, and it's this horrifying, mysterious thing that's attacking them, and there seems to be no way out. It's one of those scary situations that if you are affected by this thing, you're done. There's like just one touch and you're gone. You're infected. And I feel like it's a really intense infection horror movie in a way. I feel like this one's overlooked a lot as well. And we have another iconic found footage horror movie, and that is Paranormal Activity. This is 85 minutes long. So this story centers on a couple who begin to document their paranormal experiences around their home. And we slowly learn more about the haunting and the couple's relationship and lives and why this haunting is happening. We see the haunting start off small and then just increase to become super intense and dangerous. Like the Blair Witch Project, it is also very simple. It's a one location. I love what they were able to accomplish with so little, and I feel like they were able to create some effectively scary moments, especially like the moments where we see one of the main characters just standing watching her partner as they sleep over the night, and we see the camera, the time lapse on the camera overnight, so you know they've been standing there all night long. There's also moments where our character is violently pulled out of bed. That moment shocked me. This movie scared me back when it came out, and I think that it reinvigorated the found footage genre, so it's iconic, okay? Then we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is 83 minutes. This is the iconic horror movie from Tobe Hooper about a group of friends who are traveling through Texas, and they stumble upon this farmhouse that belongs to Leatherface and his sadistic family, and they become victims to them. This one is horrifying because it feels so real. This is one of those movies that makes me feel dirty, and I just feel like it gets under my skin. It almost feels just wrong, and it's brutal without being too much in your face. Like, there's not a lot of blood, and it's all kind of what you imagine is happening. You don't actually see a lot, and I love that about this film. Then we have Evil Dead 2, which clocks in at 84 minutes. So this is the sequel to The Evil Dead, and this puts a more humor spin on the first story. It basically retells the story of the first one, but they had more money to do it, and it's more of a humorous take on this group that go to a cabin in the woods. They read from the Book of the Dead and awaken the dead. Stop reading from books that you find in mysterious locations, because nothing good will come from it, okay? Then we have Freaks, which is 62 minutes long. Freaks centers around a group of sideshow performers who seek vengeance or revenge on a trapeze artist who marries one of their own to get their inheritance. And this one is quick, it's short, it's sweet, it packs a punch. You get so much character development and story in just 60 minutes. Climax of this film is just haunting, it's shocking, it's scary, and it's sad. I love that this story centers around a group of freaks who are actually really amazing people that are judged because they don't look like everybody else, and it shows that the normal people are actually the bad people. They're actually the freaks. They're the ones who are the monsters in this story, and I love how it humanizes the characters that we wouldn't typically see in horror movies. Then we have the Slumber Party Massacre, which is 77 minutes long. This is the iconic feminist horror about a group of girls who have a sleepover, and they get stalked by a murderer who uses a power drill to kill his victims. This one created some characters that actually feel like real girls, they speak like real girls, they act like real girls, and they actually fight back with the killer. I feel like this movie is almost empowering in a way. There's a lot of social commentary about the relationships between men and women, and I just love it. Then we have The Monster Squad. This is 82 minutes long. This is about a group of kids who are best friends, and they call themselves the Monster Squad because they're horror geeks. They love universal monsters, and one day they discover that Dracula is in their town, and he's brought with him all of his universal monsters like Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Creature, and they have a plan to destroy their town. So these little kids, they band together to take Dracula down. It's a horror adventure for the younger generation, and I love it so much. Then we have Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This is 88 minutes. This is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's a campy horror classic. It's about a small town that's terrorized when a group of aliens decide to touch down there. And these aliens are dressed like clowns. They look like clowns, and they're terrifying. And there's some really terrifying moments in this. It's so colorful and bright, and just, it's fun. There's so many iconic moments and set pieces in this that I will never forget. Like, clown pods, the cotton candy pods, is just so creative, and I love one specific scene with the police officer and the clown in the police station that is one of the most terrifying scenes I've ever seen. The dread and tension in that scene is off the charts, and it's just horrific. It's so scary, but I feel like it gets overlooked for the rest of the movie, which is just so bright and big and almost childish. But when these clowns actually do what they set out to do, when they start killing people and stuff, it's disturbing what they're doing. Then we have Lights Out, which is 81 minutes long. When Rebecca left home, she thought she left her childhood fears behind. Growing up, she was never really sure of what was and wasn't real when the lights went out, and now her little brother Martin is experiencing the same unexplained and terrifying events that had once tested her sanity and threatened her safety. A frightening entity with a mysterious attachment to their mother, Sophie, has reemerged. I love that this one uses light and darkness, because I feel like a lot of people can relate to being afraid of the dark. I'm still afraid of the dark as an adult. You don't know what's in the dark, and somebody could be creeping closer to you. There's just some really creepy, effective moments in this movie that plays on that idea and makes you think you're seeing things you're not. It's a unique story with likable characters and an interesting villain, and I think it's an overall fun, entertaining horror movie. Then we have Vacancy, which is 85 minutes long. So this is a horror thriller about a couple who stop at a roadside motel while they're on their way home from something, and they discover that this hotel is a front for these filmmakers who make snuff films, and they're the next stars of this film, and they have to fight to survive and get out of the situation. I love the setup of this movie. I love that it's set at this rundown, creepy motel, and I love that the couple has a lot of baggage with them, and they're already in a really awkward position. You can tell they're going through something difficult, and they have to get through it together, and going through this horrific scenario kind of brings them together, and it's just horrifying. It's a horrifying situation all around, and I think it's a fun movie. It's fast-paced, it has some disturbing elements, it has some great performances, and it will keep you on the edge of your seat. Then we have Terrified, which is 88 minutes long. So this is about a group of investigators and a police officer who are experiencing some strange activity that's happening in this neighborhood. This one has some absolutely horrifying moments, disturbing moments, and it's actually really scary, and I feel like it's overlooked a lot. Then we have The Loved Ones, which is 84 minutes long. So this movie is about a high school girl who always gets what she wants, and she wants this boy named Brent to go to prom with her, but he has a girlfriend, so he turns her down, and she is not happy about it. So she gets her dad to kidnap him and hold their own prom at their house. A very demented prom that involves syringes, I think antifreeze, and a lot of other dark stuff. This one is heavy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of trauma and abuse. The characters in this story are so interesting because they all have really deep backstories, and you're learning about how the activities of Lola and her father are affecting this community. And it's really a downer, but it also has some really bright, beautiful colors, and the music is intense, and Lola is one of the best villains I've ever seen, and she's absolutely terrifying because she's this teenage girl, and teenage girls, without being murderous, are really intense and scary all on their own. So when you add in the fact that she's psychotic and she wants to kill people, that makes it even scarier. Teenage girls are just unpredictable. They are the perfect villains. Then we have Creep, which is 82 minutes. This is a found footage about a guy who takes a job as a cameraman for some stranger that he meets on the internet, and he finds out that this guy is very strange and he likes to dress up and do some horrible things. So listen, this movie, it's a slow burn. There's a lot of tension, and it's very atmospheric because you know that this filmmaker, this situation is not going to go well for him. It's just building up to that. And I think that it's fun, it's quick, and Mark Duplass does an excellent job as this boisterous, almost likable weirdo, and then he switches in the blink of an eye, and it's just fun to watch that transformation. Then we have the French horror movie Inside, which is 79 minutes long. This centers on a young pregnant woman who is about to give birth, and it's right before Christmas. and she's visited by a strange woman on her doorstep who wants to come inside, and she's like, no lady, I don't know you. But this lady doesn't care, and she makes her way inside that house, and she terrorizes this pregnant woman because she wants her baby, and she will do anything to get it. This movie is filled with so much blood. It is super intense and bleak, and it will not make you feel good. This is not a happy Christmas horror movie, but if you're into extreme horror, this one's for you. We have The Strangers Pray at Night, which is 85 minutes long. This is the sequel to The Strangers, and I love it a lot more than the first one because it feels almost fun, considering everything that's going on. So this centers around a family who are traveling on a road trip to bring their daughter to some like boarding school because she's not doing well. So along their way, they stop at this trailer park to just rest for the night. So when they get to this trailer park, they realize that it's empty. No one's there. And then at night, they're visited by these weird people who decide that they just are gonna terrorize them because they're there, you know? So the whole movie is basically these strangers terrorizing this family one by one. And what I love about this movie is the soundtrack. It's 80s music. It's just so much fun. It kind of lightens the mood so that when you're watching these horrible things happen to this family, it just kind of eases it a little bit because you're like, you just wanna, you know, sing along. But yeah, it's tough. It's difficult, and it's also bright. These bright 80s colors. I just love when horror movies with super dark subject matter are bright and colorful. Not everything has to be dark. It's almost more scary to me and unsettling when it's that opposite, when it's super bright and happy, but what's happening on screen is horrifying. And lastly on this list, we have House of a Thousand Corpses, which is 89 minutes long. So this is the Rob Zombie horror movie about a group of friends who are traveling from roadside attraction to roadside attraction, and they come upon Captain Spaulding's roadside museum. And when they're there, they learn about this legend of Dr. Satan, and they ask him about it. And things go horribly wrong after that point. When they leave Captain Spaulding's house, they pick up a hitchhiker, their car breaks down, and the hitchhiker's like, no problem, I have a tow truck at home, we'll get you out of here on time, just come back home with me. And when they get there, they meet her weirdo family, and they're in trouble once they get to this woman's house. This is basically like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to 11. Unlike Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was kind of more subtle in what they showed you, House of a Thousand Corpses is not like that. House of a Thousand Corpses is in your face. They show you everything. It just pummels you. The disgusting nastiness of this family and what they're doing, and you see it all, and it does not feel good. The acting is great. It created this new horror family that I think is iconic. I know a lot of people are not into Rob Zombie, but he has his own aesthetic. He created this own look. He has a specific style, and this is it. So, you know, if you like Rob Zombie, check this one out. I think it's fun. It's set on Halloween, and it's quick, so why not? And there you have it. Those are just a few of the best horror movies that are all under 90 minutes. They're short, they're sweet, and they pack a punch. Let me know what horror movies you would add to the list. Let me know what horror movies on my list that you like most. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I will catch you next time. Bye.